We all have agencies. We can shape the future. There's still a lot. Look, I've said before, so I'll repeat it. I don't anticipate this need to be the case, but there is a break the glass scenario, and there's many people that have a deep understanding of what it would look like if Democrats were locked down. We're gonna do everything to make sure that doesn't happen. I'll leave it at that. We all have age. We all have agencies, we can shape the future. There's still a lot, I've said this before, so I'll repeat it. I don't anticipate this need to be the case, but there is a break glass scenario, and there's many people that have a deep understanding of what it would look like if Democrats were locked out, and we're going to do everything to make sure that doesn't happen. I'll leave it there. We all have agencies, we can shape.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about it. Gavin Newsom having a nervous breakdown, having psychotic breaks. He's snapping. Got a lot of people we just showed have different theories. Well, I know a whole lot more about the situation than a lot of people may think. A whole lot more. We have a situation that involves basically a whole lot of documents that have been coming down in relation to a very serious filing. We have a major articles violation. The entire Gavin Newsom ticket is disqualified. The whole thing. That's the way the articles work. You attack a candidate's campaign, their camp, you're done. You're disqualified. And, well, all the people with you basically are disqualified. That means all the hirees, all the people that were appointed. And guess what? From the moment that they were participants in the campaign forward, their retirement benefits are gone. They're taken away if they're lucky. Because they're not earned properly. They had no right to have those benefits. Now, if the evidence is deeper on some of these people, it's very actionable. These people are going to go away. They're going to go to prison for a long time. And if they're involved at the highest levels, the treason levels, they're facing the death penalty. Voters, this is not a game. It's not a game. The last thing that certain Democrats in California want to occur is scrutiny. They are desperate, incredibly desperate to do anything because they don't want to lose power. They're afraid that people are fed up. They're going to come after them for what they've done. Voters, if you're not sitting down, maybe you need to sit down, voters. And I know some of you are upset. Some of you are already, I guarantee you, some of you are upset. When you hear this, you're going to, I know there's a lot of people. They're going to be like yelling at their screen and stuff and like, yeah, no duh, yeah. And they're upset because they already know they're victims. They know. They're upset. Okay. Okay, you're with Michael Crosby. Yes, I'm running for governor, and once again, yes, I'm continuing as a running candidate through multiple elections. I did run for POTUS as well. But here's the thing: we have California that has committed. Real quick, I just want to go over this before we get into this exploitation of investment in robotics. We have the state of California has involved itself in article violations. They've attacked my campaign. The archives, they violate national security. They're disqualified. We have a current regime that is illegal. They've overthrown the government. They're disqualified. Now, the Constitution and laws say I cannot withdraw. It's illegal for me to withdraw. Once I have seen and witnessed these people committing treason, I am obligated by the Constitution of the United States to effectively deal with prosecuting these parties. It has to happen. It's
Kern County Sheriff's Office. We intentionally ran him over. Kern County Sheriff's Office. We intentionally ran him over.
What agency?
Kern County Sheriff's Office. We intentionally ran him over. We ran him over.
faster. We're never going to get the sites cleaned up unless we remove the materials. We have to at least reduce the pressure to stop it from seeping at the very least. Now, this will get us a whole lot of basically resources that we need to get the jobs done that way, you know? So the thing is that I'm still committed. I want people to be wiser, own tomorrow, get involved with Stewart projects where we own our own power companies and we get serious residuals. That we can do these things and end up making more money faster.
We intentionally ran him over.
What agency?
Kern County Sheriff's Office. We intentionally ran him over.
What agency?
Kern County Sheriff's Office. Kern County Sheriff's Office. We intentionally ran him over.
What agency?
Kern County Sheriff's Office. Kern County Sheriff's Office. We intentionally ran him over.
What agency?
Kern County Sheriff's Office. Kern County. We intentionally ran him over.
What agency?
Kern County Sheriff's Office. We intentionally ran him over.
What agency?
Kern County Sheriff's Office.
The truth's arrived, sadly. The truth's arrived, sadly. The truth's arrived, sadly.
Boudreaux also revealing tonight Morales had 18 handguns registered to him, but not the rifle that was used in this fatal shooting. So they're still working to figure out how exactly he got that.
Enforcement officers escorted the deputy's body to the Tulare County Coroner's Office, and we now know the name of the fallen deputy. He was Tulare Sheriff's Detective Randy Hoppert. Sheriff Boudreaux says he was the grandson of a former Tulare Sheriff Undersheriff, also a Navy veteran, a Navy corpsman from 2010 to 2015, a father and husband. His wife right now is 4 months pregnant. Sheriff Boudreaux says that officers were serving an eviction notice in the area of Newcomb Street and Bryan Lane when Morales started shooting at them. Deputy Hoppert went to help those officers and was shot and killed. CBS 47's Ben Morris has been there all day covering the story and tells us what happened.
And Catherine Bryan, after over a 7-hour standoff, pieces of equipment from out agencies across this area continue to come back now. And the Tulare County Sheriff's Office, again tonight, confirming the suspect's death after he's accused of shooting and killing that deputy. Once again, they say he was ran over by a Kern County Bearcat. Now, Sheriff Boudreaux tells us 59-year-old David Morales was continuing to fire shots at law enforcement vehicles and equipment throughout the day. He says he was using a high-powered rifle and wearing camouflage as he shot through the front glass of a Bearcat and even shot down one of their drones. At one point, they tell us he was able to escape from the home and was actually hiding in bushes nearby and was moving between 4 neighborhood blocks in the area of West Bryan Avenue. The Sheriff's Office says they had actually started bulldozing parts of that house he was in, but say while he was out of the home, he was killed and run over. And deputies say he shot and killed Deputy Randy Hoppert Jr., responding to the scene as backup after Morales initially opened fire on deputies trying to evict him at around 10:40 this morning. And Boudreaux also revealing tonight Morales had 18 handguns registered to him, but no.
What happened?
And Catherine Bryan, after over a 7-hour standoff, pieces of equipment from out agencies across this area continue to come back now. And the Tulare County Sheriff's Office, again tonight, confirming the suspect's death after he's accused of shooting and killing that deputy. Once again, they say he was ran over by a Kern County Bearcat. Now, Sheriff Boudreaux.
We intentionally ran him over.
The man suspected of killing the Tulare County Sheriff's deputy today is dead. The Tulare County Sheriff Mike Boudreaux says that 59-year-old David Morales
David. Mola Lengi with us tonight. Mola, thank you. Now to another alarming scene, the dramatic and massive warehouse fire in Southern California. And we have now learned tonight that police are investigating a new piece of video. Does it show an employee starting the fire? Trevor Ault with that video tonight.
Tonight, an arson investigation into this massive fire that destroyed
wanted him in the club. They gave him all this stuff, drop it off here, take a look at it. And at first it's like, oh, this is interesting. It's a business connection kit. If you can imagine a directory, imagine like the Donnelly directory. Now imagine like they got some of these really thick directories. You got like Oprah Winfrey and all these other different people. They're in the directory. Okay, it's a special number directly, and it's got certain people's phone numbers and this and that. And they're like $600 to $1,200 or more to buy one of those directories. Expensive directory. Okay, but this is a bit more. It gives you a bit more of an option here. So he understood more about how this whole thing worked. People in the government were very happy. They were going to photograph all this, have nice long talks as he explained things. So one of the really big items, the one that just totally flipped out my great grandfather on my grandmother's side, I got other ones on the other side, school predate the Constitution. Anyhow, is the fact that they wanted him to obtain all medals. And then literally you end up with the message that says, we want you to buy all the metal. We will make whatever deal you need because we want it. You need money, whatever you need. You need a bunch of drugs, wholesale, whatever you need. We want you to go to the churches. We want you to buy all the church bells. We don't care what the price is. It's not about the price. It's about the metal. We have to have the metal. We'll pay vast sums of money for it. And at that moment, he realized what was going on. He realized that the only real reason to need to buy every metal and even buy the church bells dealt with people who had a plan to literally bring mass darkness all over Europe. And that's when he gathered some of the immediate families members together and says, we need to leave the country now. And they're like, what? No, it's going to be fine. They said, no, you don't understand who these people are, what they're involved in, and what they're planning. We need to leave now. I'll pay for your passage across. Just take your deeds with you. Fill your steamer trunks up with what's crucial or worth money and leave the rest behind. Leave the rest behind, and we can have somebody rent out.
And this story is not about him. This story is about our officer. He created this, and we have a 4-month-old baby who will never know his or her father. This is senseless. I'm angered over the whole thing, but regardless, any other questions?
as our governor have completely failed in that nothing was happening in the beginning. It was allowed to spiral out of control, and then they have created this narrative that completely defies facts and a timeline that we know happened. And this is, they keep calling it a peaceful protest, mostly peaceful, whatever they want to call it. But the reality is that law enforcement officers are being attacked, property is being destroyed, and it is out of control violence that really they're trying to deny for political gain.
We intentionally ran him over. This story is not about him. This story is about our officer. And he created this, and we have a 4-month-old baby that will never know his or her father. This is senseless. I'm angry over the whole thing. But regardless, here are your questions. We intentionally ran him over.
Yeah, you're a loser. But other people are winners. Yeah, you're a loser. But other people are winners. Election rigging is a process. It's not an accident. Election rigging is a process. It's not an accident. Election rigging is a process. It's not an accident. Michael Crosby here. Yes, I'm running for governor, and again, I haven't resolved the attack situation involving those nasty attacks on my campaign in previous elections, which are article violations by the Constitution. I'm not allowed to withdraw. I can't withdraw because I've caught people red-handed doing treason. I'm not allowed by law to withdraw. I have to see that these parties get prosecuted. It's mandatory. I'm going to see that these parties. Rightfully so, I should be governor at this moment. But let's move on to these items as I still have people trying to join in to setting up the various fait complete with documents and arrests that are going to be occurring. Now, I want to talk about mislabeled assets. Now, right here, we're talking about mislabeled assets. I'm showing old cars because most people can equate real quick that, yeah, those old cars turned out to really be worth something. Depending on, how good a care you kept it, those are ascending assets. But there's all kinds of other ascending assets. This is what I want to talk about. Now, setting up a proper steward's engine to help people be able to understand how to properly categorize their assets and keep track of them. See, we're going to be having that software that's going to be available.
You're with Michael Crosby here, gubernatorial candidate. Yes, I'm still trying to get those matters resolved involving the articles, violations, and attacks upon my campaign by state entities. But I want to talk to you a little bit about what happened in the past. Now, we've done some intensive analytics on this, and you won't believe how much money people have lost in this country. Now, we did some countrywide statistics, but I'm going to tell you that the majority of these statistics actually come out of California, and they're a little hard to work with. They're very large. Now, basically what's been happening is people have lied. People lied to you about your assets. They deliberately took foreign entities' ideals and, well, basically plans of attacks, and they implemented it. They deliberately lied year after year to you as you had ascending assets. Your vehicles, solid vehicles, were ascending assets, and they lied to you year after year after year, and they made excuses, and they were lie after lie after lie after lie. When you destroy a vehicle, you have to basically end up burning it up. That creates the amount of pollution of that vehicle staying on the road in its normal operating activities. Well, here's the numbers, people. 10 years. 10 years worth of volume of basically chemical toxins, emissions, occur when you destroy that vehicle. 10 years worth. So what happened is they were lying about throwing all these extra emissions into the atmosphere. And they were very tricky in the way they did it. They did some really scammy stuff, I'm telling you. And they lied. They out and out lied. Now, it's also important to understand that when you destroy a vehicle, you get more types of chemicals than just what would normally come out the tailpipe. You end up getting cyanides. You end up getting these thousands of types of custom chemicals that would not go into the environment. And these are far more dangerous to your life. Literally, we're currently tracking some statistics. We actually see a relationship between the increase in cancer in California, but it's connected to the forced burning of people's cars, their interiors, their dashboards, the plastics, your upholstery. You're with Michael Crosby here, gubernatorial candidate. Yes, I'm still trying to get those matters. Hello, and you're with Michael Crosby. Yes, I'm a gubernatorial candidate. Hello, and you're with Michael Crosby. Yes, I'm a gubernatorial candidate.
AMRT, Atomic Mineral Resonance Tomography, the latest proprietary advancement in nuclear magnetic resonance. AMRT can detect and differentiate each mineral's unique atomic resonance. Its frequency fingerprint properties. Here's how it works. The Earth's core emits continuous electromagnetic waves. As these waves travel upward, they pass through rock, minerals, and fluids. Each material responding with its own unique resonance. These frequencies rise to the surface, forming an energy map of the subsurface. A satellite, precisely tuned to specific frequency signatures, scans the Earth's surface. When a match is detected, the system pinpoints the source location with precision. A return pulse is then sent to the target, and a delay in its response reveals the depth and geometry of the source. Once the data is processed, the results are exported as a KMC file, ready to be visualized in Google Earth, complete with exact coordinates and customized overlays. Ready to explore smart? Join the AMRT revolution.
Okay. Other people, this is SAR. This is synthetic aperture radar technology. You can Google this, and basically you can get some really big information on this. It's rather extensive, and you can get all kinds of interesting explanations on this. It's, once again, it's really, really extensive to understand what is out there, what you can do with it, because this is incredible. We now have technology that is at an atomic magnetic resonance level. That's beyond the human hair. So between these new types of technologies, just with SAR, what we have is we have an environment, basically, where California has been recorded basically in full 3D. So when you're talking about these different types of environments, you can see all kinds of stuff in relation to what's been going on.
Observation satellites is growing, overcoming optical limits with synthetic aperture radar, which works in all conditions, penetrating clouds and darkness. Radar technology attracting investments is vital for emergency applications, with startups expanding its use through microsatellites. Despite data processing challenges, efforts to simplify this data access promise broader applications and industry growth, highlighting its role in advancing global monitoring and understanding. Find out more on radar technology in the source article on GeoWars' website. The use of Earth observation satellites is growing.
So as we basically continue here, there is more to this than people might think. You know, so basically gamers use it. I've got a bunch of stuff that I was working with too, to basically record entire cities, entire terrains, convert it into material for 3D modeling, for 3D gaming, literally. So with this kind of technology, you can even see underwater. You've also got the new types of magnetic resonance imaging, atomic level. Again, that's beyond the human hair. You know, but so you can track any kind of object, whether it's a truck, a car, a human being. So let's say somebody commits homicide. Well, you can track that location and rework that data in different ways and basically see where the killers are, where the killers go.
And the judge stormed out, busted red-handed. He'd been recorded. And the judge stormed out, busted red-handed. He'd been recorded. And the judge stormed out, busted red-handed. He'd been recorded. And the judge stormed out, busted red-handed. He'd been recorded. And the judge stormed out, busted red-handed. He'd been recorded. And the judge stormed out, busted red-handed. He'd been recorded. And the judge stormed out. People don't understand. There's different things like bandwidth frequency, what happens here, what happens there. And there's all these complexities to understanding the text language, the invention of new words, the combination of words that are important. So you have to end up claiming those. And one of the ways you claim those in copyright is you put a claim that no one else can use the term. So you register it one time stating that, by the way, this is a copyright. You know, in other words, like this, for instance, you have a company like Disneyland, for instance. Well, Disneyland has different types of names that are copyrighted, different things connected to Disneyland, and it's all copyrighted material. So you have people all the time that used to say, oh, this domain's available, we'll just do, you know, one time, I mean, Disneyland, you know, really early on in the web sometimes, you go, look, Disneyland is available. Oh my goodness. Well, they didn't have to keep it up. They own the name. You know, so there's all this other different, you know, Goofy does this, some kind of unique type of activity concerning a character or whatever. So, you know, it's obvious that people would own these
But there's a process that's done at a modern level where you do these processes. Okay, here we go. Now, in this document, we have the evidence domain set up right here that talks about the situation involving technological relationships. Okay, here we go. Now, in this document, we have the evidence domain set up right here that talks about the situation involving technological relationships. There's additional items that also deal with certain types of warnings and hardships and respective damage and dangers. For instance, when you list stuff effective, this one right here, this pertains to China. Okay, when you list things on domains, other people evaluate it. When people do copyright and patent searches, the way this is done is that one of the methods that you do is you check for domain site availability. And there's different stages of records. You have the permanent record when you buy the domain. That's a record that goes everywhere around the world. On the relay system, and you also have the checking system. The checking system also connects to internet, where if somebody's getting a site, once they click it into an intent, basically the site is generally kind of frozen, so that somebody else doesn't purchase it. You used to have something known as parking, where you can park a site for a while without deciding to purchase it. There's additional items of consideration. The search engine type statistics, many of these statistics are shared, some of them are not shared, but sometimes they're shared on certain databases depending on what you're doing. And in other words, if you're a scientist or an inventor or an engineer, you're working at a company, in many cases they'll tell you to have meetings about things you want researched. You can't necessarily, you're advised to not necessarily just freely search for things, because people can get a list of what it is that you're doing and understand what you're working on. And this can tell them things like what progress level you can conceivably be at respective to an engineering project. And this could be a 10 million, 50 million, more money involved in a project where, depending on the stage you're at, what you're searching for, that kind of information can be reverse checked. Someone can do forms of reverse logic engineering to understand what level you're at, which means people getting a hold of that information. Okay, here we go. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Voters, to the case situation overall concerning the article violations that have occurred, that were committed by the regime of California. Now, in updating this currently, the damage reached the normal calculation as to the way we were calendaring, the normal way you would calculate it. I would say that was only a partial calculation to begin with because we have a major amount of damage that has occurred to the archive. Now, that calculator that we did so far hit $6 billion in damage as of the 1st of May. Now, basically, when we're bringing into play the understanding here of the domain names, this area was not computed previously because of the situations, the way they were progressing. Now we're releasing part of the information, partial lists of the enormous amount of domain name ownership. These also deal with copyright and patent territories, which we have not been bringing into the equations on the damage to the archive. Now, at this point in time, what we're releasing goes into hundreds of billions of dollars worth of premium domain site values, just as a domain site value. We also have certain specialized understanding for faster-than-light communications patents, different types of specialized NFTs, cryptocurrencies, cryptocurrencies, which were scheduled to be part of the process respective to the programming that was being built for different types of mass economic modeling and gaming. It would go from gaming all the way into the governmental areas, the heavy finance, the economic criminology areas. So, as we're dealing with unfolding and revealing this point, there was a new equation, and again, it's not complete. We're dealing with damages basically that now exceed more than $10 billion. That's how much damage we are currently equating, and this is again not an absolute quantitative, complete equating of the damage done by the California regime. Again, I'm a candidate. I'm an ongoing. Okay, here we go. Now, in this document, we have the evidence domain. There's so much more to it than what we're talking about. In other words, somebody doing a search that makes a breakthrough in a new form of communication, like myself, faster-than-light communication. So I have a lab in Greenbrier,
And you can have different things happening where I'm working with new types of compression, new types of knowledge compression, and it relates also not only to language model science, but it can also translate into temporal quantum communications, for instance. So when you're doing things, you have to also protect terminologies, which means if I'm doing manuals and I'm doing different types of material, you want to also be able to basically claim a category because you invented it. It's your category. It belongs to you. It's your property. It's also made, once again, it can pertain to national security. So, so if I was doing something in my Greenbrier lab, then I would have basically been taking material and then doing certain types of web searches. And conducting, sometimes I might conduct specialized remote tests and different things. And there's different aspects that other people don't understand. There's different things like bandwidth frequency, what happens here, what happens there. And there's all these complexities to understanding the text language, the invention of new words, the combination of words that are important. So you have to end up claiming those. And one of the ways you claim those in copyright is you put a claim that no one else can use the term. So you register it one time, stating that, by the way, this is a copyright. In other words, like this, for instance, you have a company like Disneyland, for instance. Well, Disneyland has different types of names that are copyrighted, different things connected to Disneyland, and it's all copyrighted material. So you have people all the time that used to say, "Oh, this domain's available. We'll just do." One time, I mean Disneyland. Really early on in the web, sometimes you go, "Look, Disneyland is available." Oh my goodness! Well, they didn't have to keep it up. They own the name. So there's all these other different. Goofy does this, some kind of unique type of activity concerning a character or whatever. So it's obvious that people would own these, but there's a process that's done at a modern level where you do these processes. So when it comes to technology processes and features, some of them you will actually want to copyright because that is a territorial process that belongs inherent to your material and your process. So you have to sample something of it that you're claiming, and you're basically, making sure that there's a copyright understanding there. So compressed quantum technology, different types of terms, respectively, could be long laid terms. You might copyright them. So not everybody understands this. Not everybody does this kind of stuff. But if you're doing stuff the right way, it's important because why? You don't want somebody trying to utilize a backdoor technique and get into your program, especially if your programming is going to end up having a cryptocurrency associated with it. So when you're working with mass economic modeling, you're also working with a series of understanding of different types of custom tokens. So you're working with non-currencies that are as-though currencies. And you're also going to be working like with games and different other types of currency situations with different modeling at various levels. Anything from gaming to serious financial to governmental, military intelligence, whatever. Where you're using these different types of tokens, and some of them actually have inherent money transfers because you're dealing with informational requests for different computers and systems to basically perform different procedures. And there has to be an effective transference of a financial compensative piece. So it's like a token. A different way, different style of token.
So later on, you might sub this out or change it into a different thing. But now you're making this series of new forms of programming where you're doing gigantic blockchain understanding. And it ends up getting sectionalized and all this other different stuff. So you have to copyright this because you're basically, it's like a contract. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about it. Gavin Newsom having a nervous breakdown. Having psychotic breaks. He's snapping. Got a lot of people we just showed have different theories. Well, I know a whole lot more about the situation than a lot of people may think. A whole lot more. We have a situation that involves basically a whole lot of documents that have been coming down in relation to a very serious filing. We have a major articles violation. The entire Gavin Newsom ticket is disqualified. The whole thing. That's the way the articles work. You attack a candidate's campaign, their camp. You're done. You're disqualified. And, well, all the people with you basically are disqualified. That means all the hirees, all the people that were appointed. And guess what? From the moment that they were participants in the campaign forward, their retirement benefits are gone. They're taken away if they're lucky. If they're lucky. Because they're not earned properly. They had no right to have those benefits. Now, if the evidence is deeper on some of these people, it's very actionable. These people are going to go away. They're going to go to prison for a long time. And if they're involved at the highest levels, the treason levels, they're facing the death penalty. Voters, this is not a game. It's not a game. The last thing that certain Democrats in California want to occur is scrutiny. They are